It's hard work, and it takes several days for these young people to fill their sacks with grass seeds. They're volunteers from all over the world, here because they're idealistic and want to help protect the environment. They're in the middle of a wilderness that will one day be the Patagonia National Park. With the grass seeds, they're restoring land devastated by overuse. It took Kris Tompkins and her colleagues barely 10 years to return nature more or less to its former glory. A few years ago, these vast, unspoiled steppes were completely degraded.
After 100 years of being overgrazed, and I look out there and there are guanacos out there instead of sheep. I love sheep, but too many of them is a bad thing. And I think to myself, all right, Doug was right.
Kris Tompkins is a former clothing company executive. But in 2004, she bought over 3,630 square kilometers of land in southern Chile from local cattle barons. The project's goal is to leave nature and wildlife in the region of Valle Chacabuco to their own devices, and ultimately to hand the restored land back to the Chilean government as a national park. This is the nerve center of the project, home to about 40 local families. It's a little village where the organizers hope the staff and their families can feel at home, even though they're a long way from the nearest town. There's even a school for the kids. Kris lives with her husband Douglas in a pretty majestic house, slightly off the beaten track. But the couple rarely get to enjoy any time off. Douglas is often away. Over the last 20 years, the Tompkins have created a total of 11 national parks in South America, and Douglas manages them. He's no stranger to trouble.
If you take parks around the world, they always have trouble getting born, because conservation naturally is the other side of the coin of development, of economic development in its traditional sense. The same thing is happening here.
We set out to see what he means. These spectacular, unspoilt landscapes seem to be untouched by civilization. But in fact, they're at the heart of a bitter battle being waged between Chile's politicians. The reason? The biggest rivers in the country touch the borders of Kris Tompkins' protected area, and the government has plans for them.
La Central Baker 1.
The government and the electricity lobby have long been pushing for 5 new dams here in the region. Producing electricity through hydropower would entail flooding large areas of grassland.
These major investment projects will help what is one of the poorest parts of Chile. Locals stand to benefit. But of course, some people beg to differ, and the Tompkins are fighting for what they believe in. But the dams are in Chile's best interests.
But the electricity produced is earmarked primarily for transportation via power lines to mines some 2,300 kilometers away in northern Chile. Most people here oppose the project.
Drawing a knife down the center of someone's face, stitching it up, and then ask how you look, ask how you feel.
With international help, the environmental activists want to prevent this from happening. The Tompkins play frequent host to influential visitors and various environmental protection organizations from all over the world. They need allies if they're going to succeed in their conservationist aims.
Whether it's Arab Spring or Occupy Wall Street, or the environmental movement, or peace, or the slow food movement, or community finance, there is a huge awakening. Say there's got to be a better way. We are self-destructing.
Kris Tompkins has already won over a number of locals. His staff includes Arthelio Sepulveda, who used to be a puma hunter. He still tracks pumas, but these days with the help of satellite tags. His goal is to find out what sort of prey they're after, because since the Valle Chacabuco has been a protected area, the puma population has started to grow. Although Arthilio's observations show that the pumas are preying mainly on guanacos, local farmers are complaining that they're losing sheep. They blame the American woman and her conservation project, maintaining that the pumas are venturing out of the park and ravaging their sheep. They feel hard done by, because the electricity companies are also buying up land for their dams, leaving less room for their cattle.
Whenever things change, it's the poor people who suffer. Like the pumas, we will have to adapt, and many of us will have to find new work.
62-year-old Kris Tompkins is undeterred, not even by the Chilean Constitutional Court's decision to reject her lawsuit against the dam project.
If you look at these places 100 years from now, then you've got something. Yeah, it's worth it. Definitely worth it.
Kris Tompkins is certainly helping protect nature with her project in Valle Chacabuco. But nonetheless, many in Chile have their reservations about her work.